So basically, we're starting this podcast. It's called DropKick Podcast, and we want to start this because, well, first of all, reporters on quarantine,
Yeah.
and second of all, I don't know. We just want to be marks and talk about our opinions,
Yeah,
And
exactly. You can find this podcast. Well, first of all, if you're watching on my YouTube channel, this is the VP Show. We are on YouTube, we are on Podbean, and we are on SoundCloud, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is the Dropkick Podcast.
Well, here's to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wanted to do this for a long ass time, dude. Like, I was watching like Zack Ryder stuff, and I was like, yo, if we can like market this, I don't really want to say market, but I just want to say like if we can like put this out in a certain way and like someone's watching this, you know what I mean? Like it could be like 10 people, 500 people, one person, like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like
Really doesn't
like
matter.
we just want to look back at this in 10 years and be like, hey, like dude, like we did this because we were so passionate about the business, we were so passionate about, the lost art of pro wrestling. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the lost art of pro wrestling because
Exactly.
I feel like it doesn't get it doesn't get recognized. It doesn't get talked about, as much. People are going to bury it under the rug and be like, "Hey, like, you know, this is how things are." But no, people should
Exactly.
talk about it more, and you know what I mean? But yeah, you
Because
got anything to add?
Yeah, because obviously people use I don't want to call it an excuse because at some point it is correct that the business is going to change and there's going to be an evolution of pro wrestling and it's going to change over time. But some people use this for basic things in wrestling that were 10 times better back then that are now lost art now simply because they're just not using them correctly.
Right.
Like for example, we can say people talk about how back then it used to be more about storyline and now it's about in-ring ability, which, hey, flips and dives are cool, man. Like, they're cool.
Yeah, I dig them. Like,
yeah, I dig them. But if every match is going to have a flip and a dive, right, then what's going to make one match more special than the other? That's
right.
characters and storylines. And a lot of fans today fail to realize that that's the most important part. Like, people debate whether it was the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era, right? That were the most popular points of WWE, or the peak for WWE, right? But no matter which one it was, if you look back at it, the storylines, they're much better than they are in wrestling right now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think, back to what you said, the Attitude Era, dude, people clamor for that. People want that shit back. You know why? Because it was so edgy. And then guess what? We have, I don't know, something controversial. Like, I don't know. Think of something.
The John Moxley and Kenny Omega match.
And there we go. We got that. And guess what? They got fined for it because they couldn't handle it. Or, I don't know. Some legal shit.
They got fined 10. Oh, first of all, it's Tony Khan, the dude. A billionaire. Like,
yeah, he's got some money.
$10,000 is nothing for him. But are you serious, man? This is a pro wrestling match. This is pro wrestling. People who bought tickets know what they're going into. They literally said before the match. I mean, they could have said it for the gimmick, but they said AEW is not responsible for what happens after this. And even if that was gimmick, that should be enough to tell you
that this shit's gonna be crazy. Yeah,
it's gonna be different than everything else you've seen tonight.
I think I enjoyed that match. Dude, people
I liked it.
People can be like, oh, it was terrible. It killed the business in a way. Okay, first of all, you had Mae Young giving birth to a hand. That kills the business. All right, all right, God. Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette.
I don't know who booked that shit. Vince Russo. I don't know, dude. They're. Do you like Vince Russo? What do you think about Vince Russo?
About Vince Russo? Honestly, I'm not too familiar with his. When it comes to booking, I'm not too familiar with a lot of his opinions. I know that him and Jim Cornette kind of go at it, and I know Jim Cornette, he's kind of one of the people that failed to realize that pro wrestling is going to evolve and change. So I'm assuming since he hates Vince Russo probably. But one thing I'll say about Vince Russo is I know he said he thinks AEW and WWE are working together. That's just one thing that makes me lose a tad bit of credibility I don't know, man. I just think that's ridiculous. Because, first of all, AEW would be PG if they were
Yeah, honestly.
First of all, there would be no blood and guts matches. There'd be no hardcore matches.
Exactly.
We wouldn't get Jon Moxley cursing and swearing in this whole sea of fans. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, none of this shit would happen, man. Like, honestly, dude, like, I worried. I was like, dude, people were giving shit to Jericho. I was like, okay, Jericho signed with AEW because there was more freedom. The handcuffs weren't, cuffed on him. He could actually do shit. That's why most of these like guys who are released now, they actually have a sense of, like freedom, because it's like, dude, like you're out. You're not stuck in this corporate world.
You're full. You got full creative control, and that's just how some guys work at their best. Like, I'm not dissing WWE at all.
Yeah,
there's different systems for different people. This is like, it's literally how I feel about school too.
Right.
There's so many different ways of learning, they say, right? I think the same can go for wrestling. There's so many different ways of being a character. And for a lot of guys, for example, Jon Moxley, I think he benefits more with full creative control, right? Then we got our guys like Seth Rollins with the Monday Night Messiah, and it's like, under the WWE umbrella, he knows how to make himself amazing.
And I'll say this, like, I feel like Vince McMahon, by the way, he doesn't get enough credit sometimes, because, dude, he was backed in a corner with this whole COVID-19 situation, and we almost had WrestleMania canceled. And then to think, like, Edge comes back after 9 years, and then Drew's first WWE title, win.
Pro wrestling's the only thing on TV.
Exactly.
Obviously, I've been every type of wrestling fan, right? I've been the WWE mark. I've been the WWE hater. I've been the guy. Bro. I've been the guy who defends Vince McMahon, and I've been the guy who hates Vince McMahon and says, "Oh, this is bad because of Vince." I've been watching wrestling for almost 12 years. I don't know. I've been every type of wrestling fan, okay? Yeah. And after watching it for so long, I can say, yes, there's still going to be times where I'm like, oh, that shit that Vince did, that annoys me. But at the end of the day, wrestling isn't what it is without
For sure,
Vince.
Vince gave birth to wrestling, and that's just how it is. And people want to admit it or not, but like, if it wasn't for the John Cena's, if it wasn't for the Hulk Hogan's, telling you to drink your, milk and
eat your vitamins,
all that crap, milk,
eat your vitamins.
But like it goes back to who runs it, and guess who runs it? Triple H. Suck it. But hey, he can only do so much of that stuff now, because dude, Hunter's old now. Sean's old. So,
and this is where it comes in, like, booking wise, Triple H, yes, I would hand the company to him booking wise. As for business wise, Vince McMahon is still a good businessman. You can argue he's out of touch for booking. At some points I'll be like, yeah, but at some points I'll also be like, no, this seems pretty interesting. This needs to go on. But at the end of the day, I'm fine with Triple H getting the booking in his hands. But that can still happen without Vince fully stepping down. He can make all the business deals. He can do anything, clearly, because WWE is the only thing that was running every single week through quarantine. Like, if something shows you that a businessman can do anything, that's something that will show you that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think Vince isn't scared. Like, he legitimately does not care. Like, dude, like, dude, you hear about the stuff about Roman, right? Like, I think it's a big whole, like, laugh kind of. It's just like one of those things. It's like, they're trying to tell us, like, hey, we don't care about Roman, but like, it was Money in the Bank. Yeah, it was Money in the Bank. Like, there was like this one frame, right? It was shot of a frame, and it was Roman Reigns, right? And I pointed that out. Right? Yeah, I pointed that out, and I'm like, oh, dude. So yeah, they're totally working on
this. I feel like all this stuff that's going on about WWE silencing Roman Reigns or them holding a grudge at him for staying at home over having leukemia. First of all, they're not holding a grudge against him. They're working you. And
that's what I'm saying, dude. People are being worked.
That's a lost art in wrestling. People think it's a bad thing to be worked. This is what this business is about. That's what kayfabe is. You're supposed to blur the lines between real and fake. And that's what they're doing right now. And Roman Reigns' return is going to be huge.
Yeah. Dude, I think it is what it is, but, like, I think kayfabe, I think it's dead in a way, because you hear, like, so many stories, like, oh, this guy can't do this or whatever. Like, this whole Taker documentary's coming out. Like, part 2's coming out tomorrow, right? And people are like, oh, he's breaking kayfabe. Like, first of all, let the guy live. He's like, what, 50-something right now? The guy can barely walk. So, like...
Yeah, like, he's done. He's stayed in character throughout a 30-year career.
Dude, he stayed in character for his life. Like, he wouldn't fucking...
Kayfabe, that's a lost art in pro wrestling.
Honestly, yeah.
And obviously, it's something that it'll never fully be back, because now with the internet and stuff, like, as a kid, I remember there's a lot of years I spent as a wrestling fan thinking it was real just because I didn't have access to the internet.
Right, yeah.
Like, me personally, I didn't get my first phone till high school. I had access to the internet, but the internet wasn't as big. And the thing about it is that, like, nowadays I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of little kids already know.
Yeah. Dude, wrestling's so exposed now where it's like you can tell, like, what's, like, fact and fiction. Like, of course, it's like, dude, the bumps they take, it fucking hurts. Like,
everything they do, all the pain they feel is real.
Yeah, for sure. But, but the thing is, like, I feel like, the mainstream audience doesn't understand that. Like, the kids are like, oh,
exactly. Like... And that's the thing with the mainstream audience, is that they want to glorify every downside of pro wrestling and make it seem like that's what it is. Like, there are people still out there that think WWE wrestlers don't get tested for steroids.
Exactly.
And that's ridiculous to me, because they've been drug testing for 15 years now. And if someone thinks that, honestly, like...
let's be real. Are their drug policies that strict? I don't think so, because there was this guy, he came out and he said he sold Royce, Roman, Cena, I think, but I'm forgetting a bunch of others, but, like, those are the two off my head. But
I think, well, before they weren't, that was open. But I think after the whole Chris Benoit situation, now they are. Yeah. This is the thing, is that there's so many ways to get juiced up, and there's so many ways to get jacked nowadays. It's just like, even if they're not on steroids, there's something else they can be on.
Right.
And if you ask me, as someone, like, I'm 17, so obviously I haven't been in the lifting game I've been in the lifting game for a couple of years now, since I started high school. As someone who lifts weights, I'm young, so obviously I've never taken anything. I've never taken steroids.
Don't do that, bro.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll never.
For sure.
The people I've talked to about that, they say it only becomes a problem when it's abused, right? And obviously, I don't know. When it comes to Chris Benoit's situation, it was more likely CTE, right?
For sure, yeah. Like, people are like, "Oh, it was roid rage." I'm like, dude, go watch that freaking documentary by Dark Side of the Ring. That was such a good, dude. Can't wait for that Owen Hart episode to drop. I'm gonna be hella sad, dude. Yeah. Man, but yeah, like, I still think, like, obviously it's CT, it's facts, like, it's proven, but I think people are still gonna, be like, oh no, it was roids. But hey, that doesn't take away the fact that, like, you should do roids. Like, don't do them, dude.
Exactly. We're not saying steroids are good by any means, but we're just saying that.
No, kids, take your damn steroids.
No, obviously not. But we're saying we don't think that was the issue. And that's the thing, is that, like, this isn't the 90s anymore, where if you turn on Monday Night Raw, you're not going to see anybody as big as Hulk Hogan now.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But it's a different life, dude. But for sure, yeah. But, man, I don't know. I think eventually, like, it's gonna get better, like, the policies and stuff, because I remember CM Punk touched briefly on this. There was some, like, piss test or something. I think sounds weird as hell.
That's how they test for roids. That's how they
do
test
they?
for everything. That's how they drug test in the
Yeah.
W. I'm pretty sure in all sport. There's ways getting past it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, a lot of the guys, like, a lot of them will take TRT, right, with testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
So you can go to the doctor, be like, oh, I'm tired or something like that. And if they test you once and you got low testosterone, you can get a prescription, because that's what steroids are. They're testosterone, right? Testosterone replacement therapy is for guys with low testosterone, right?
Right.
What a lot of wrestlers and all athletes do, not just wrestlers, like MMA fighters, baseball players, football players, everybody. They'll take TRT, and their doctor will give it to them when their testosterone levels are not low, when they have regular testosterone levels, right? And that's what will give them the extra boost.
Right.
Because what it's made for is guys who won't get a boost. It's made for guys who have low testosterone, and it'll bring them up to normal. But if you're at normal and you're taking it, you're going to be higher.
Yeah. But I think, like, looking back at it, like, you look at the main roster, like, guys who you think are on roids are not actually on roids. Like, Daniel Bryan, dude, he's meaty now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, sounds hella
Daniel
weird.
Bryan is.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Daniel Bryan's another story, because he's, I'm pretty sure he's still vegan, right? He's a natural guy.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's no way he's on roids.
Yeah.
If we got AJ Styles, no way.
Dude, AJ's jacked though. Like,
AJ's jacked as hell.
And he's like 40 something too, yeah. So,
like, if we look at the powerlifting game and we look at the bodybuilding game, it's just, yeah, a lot of guys are on roids there, and they look ridiculous, right?
Right.
And yeah, at the end of the day, maybe AJ could be, but I just don't see it, because I feel like a lot of these guys would take that boost, because since this is pro wrestling and it's a scripted sport, right? We got a mix of entertainment and sport. That's why they call it sports entertainment. The entertainment side of it is your look.
Yeah. For sure.
So if you are going to be taking roids, I feel like there's no point in taking them unless you're going to have the unbelievable body.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to look like Hulk Hogan in '97 or whatever in WCW. Dude, that was not a good look.
I think lighting would be a little bit better.
Dude, my lighting's terrible.
It's all good, man.
It's all good. But yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. People give a lot of shit to Adam Cole. They're like, oh, he's a smaller guy. Like, he should work his. And I'm like, dude, like, you see that on TV, but if you see the guy in real life, like,
those times are just over now.
Yeah.
The era of and it's a good thing, because that was the point when wrestlers' mental health, which, well, we're going to have different episodes of this podcast are not about wrestling at times. We'll dive into mental health some other time, but I'll just say this right now. Back then, the mental health of pro wrestlers was way worse.
Dude, yeah. I think, like, you have that old school mentality where it's like, you know, I can't work because I gotta go take care of my fam, or, like, you know, someone's sick, and, you know, they'll be like, no, you gotta go out, and the other boys in the locker room are gonna be like, you know, like, hey, you need to freaking go out, because, like, you know, who's gonna put the fans, you know, in the seats? You know, if you're let's say if you're Cena, okay, or not even Cena, let's say you're Shawn Michaels in '97, you're red hot after the screw job, and people want to see you. People want to see you get your ass kicked. And who's the freaking protagonist? Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? And Shawn's hurt. And this was based off real life too. So I'm not making this up. But Shawn was in, like, serious pain, but he couldn't go, like, you know, he couldn't sit out because he, you know, dug himself in a hole he couldn't get out of, right? So sometimes it's on them. Sometimes you can control it. That's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah,
I feel like, you know, you gotta be smart about with how you portray yourself, like, you know, inside that locker room and outside of the locker room, you know, because you're gonna have that chip on your shoulder, like, hey, I gotta go out and prove that I'm the best, and, you know, every time I go back in Gorilla, you gotta be like, hey, follow that, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's like that's locker room etiquette. That obviously, for example, I want to be a pro wrestler. You want to be a pro wrestler, right? We'll dive into that later on, like when we're further down. But obviously we haven't been in a locker room, but there's locker room etiquette and locker room sports. I've played I've done amateur wrestling, and I've played football. Locker room etiquette is different everywhere. And I feel like if I were to imagine, it's changed over time, especially back then, because if you go back and you watch all these documentaries and you hear the stories, a lot of those guys, they were competing backstage over who's going to get that belt. Like the world title, it wasn't like nowadays where everybody wants to put each other over. It was, I want to put myself over.
You know, let me tell you something. Bret Hart took it, dude. People give shit to Bret all the time. Like, oh, you took the title too seriously. Like, dude, it's like, I think Bruce Pritchard even said this in the Dark Side of the Ring documentary. He was like, oh, you took it so seriously, you know, it's not meant to, you know, it's not real, like, you know. And then Bret took it, you know, offensively, because he grew up in a very, you know, household manner, Hart family, you know, the Hart Dungeon. Stu Hart, dude, Stu Hart was crazy. Like, imagine being trained by Stu Hart and you just walk into the dungeon, everyone's just like yelling, you know, like, because that's how it was, you know. It smelled like cat piss and cat litter. I don't know. That's what fucking Cornette said, but but yeah, like some guys like Brad, like they took it seriously, and I feel like, yeah, back to what I said, having that chip on your shoulder means so much. You know what I mean? Like, I guess like it paid off because, you know, now he's considered one of the GOATs of pro wrestling.
This is something that, like, I've always, maybe later on, if once I'm more into the business, I'll understand. But I don't understand why some of those guys get heat, because as an outsider looking in, right, he's treating it seriously because he wants the people to treat it seriously.
Right.
How do you expect the people to treat the championship seriously if the champion's not treating the championship seriously?
Exactly.
And that's the thing, like, I know one, Enzo Amore, right?
Oh, man.
I watched his interview about being cruiserweight champion. He had backstage heat.
But dude, he was good. Like, bro,
exactly.
I fucked with Enzo. Like, people were like, oh, Enzo can't wrestle, dude. Oh. Okay, but it's not. So, sure, it is about that.
It's not always about what's in the ring.
Yeah, like, dude, he was on TMZ, picked up his story, and I remember in TMZ was like, do you remember that interview?
The interview at the bar, and he was
at drunk. The bar. He was, dude.
And he even said it himself. That's some Ric Flair shit. Obviously, I'm not saying Enzo Amore is Ric Flair, but I'm saying that is something that Ric Flair would do, and that is he's carrying himself like a badass champion. And so many people, like, I've heard that some guys in the back, they don't like it when you carry your title belt with you going around places. Once again, outsider looking in, right? So maybe I'll understand that one day when I'm more into the business. But as of right now, as an outsider looking in, I think it's badass if you take your title with you.
Dude, walk into a bar, have that world title, just like drift up.
Dude, carry yourself like a champion. And then if someone catches eyes on you like TMZ, that's a moment where wrestling looks real.
That too, but that brings eyes and that brings new, you know, fans to the company, and they're like, oh, what is this, you know, AEW or WWE or TNA, whatever. Like, they're gonna be like, oh, let me check it out, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it creates buzz. So
creates buzz, and people see he's in character there. Yes, once again, we went over kayfabe's kind of a lost start, but if they see that character, oh my god, this guy's funny as hell, or oh my god, this guy carries himself like a champion, I want to see more of that, I'm going to tune into Monday Night Raw, and all of a sudden the Cruiserweight Championship feels like a world championship.
Dude, honestly, yeah, I haven't been, that was the last time I was invested in the Cruiserweight division. Like, no offense to the guys, like, they're great, but, like, I just can't, you know, stay after SmackDown and watch 205 Live, because I just don't care.
I'll watch, the matches are fire on NXT, like when Angel Garza and Lio Rush were going at it. But I'm just saying, as far as like making the division and making the championship feel relevant and prestigious, Enzo Amore, I think he was the best. He did it best between him and Pac.
Pac, yeah, man. I miss Pac in WWE.
Enzo blurred the lines between real and scripted, which a lot of people fail to do. And I'm not criticizing them for that, because it's tough nowadays with the internet. But he was one of the guys who was able to do that.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. But, you know, I hope he returns. Like, or if not, I hope he goes to, like, I don't know, New Japan or AEW or, you know, anywhere. But, yeah, man.
New Japan's solely focused on in the ring, so I feel like for him, it'd probably be like AEW. But then again, like he was gonna go to ROH. He just has so much backstage heat, and that's where like part of me does think maybe he has heat for something other than just carrying the belt with him in a club. Because I don't think he'd get that much heat for that. I don't know. Oh, I saw them. I lost brain cells with this. Him and Big Cass. They want to Logan Paul and Jake Paul. Did you see that?
I think I saw that.
If he loses, you know how bad that'll make wrestling look? And that's the thing.
No.
I have confidence that a pro wrestler can definitely do well in a boxing ring or an MMA octagon.
Brock Lesnar.
Like Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley.
But hey, guys like CM, dude, I love Punk, but like, dude, Punk's rap in UFC, like, it's just like, oh man, like, it just makes you, you know, cringe a bit.
And that's my thing. It's just like, part of me thinks Logan Paul could beat Enzo Amore's ass. I don't know what it is, but part of me thinks.
Dude, Logan Paul, like, sure, not many people like him. I think he can be a douche, but like, I feel like. I'm
never the biggest fan of him, but for me personally, I don't know. I saw some clips of him, his Impulsive podcast, and he had The Miz on it recently.
He had The Miz, so I was like, shit.
That's what I watched, and honestly, didn't seem too bad with me.
Dude, I feel like with the Paul brothers, I feel like there's a character, because I feel like the YouTube scene is sort of like wrestling, but except the wrestling, you know what I mean? Like, dude, quarantine got me thinking about some crazy shit. Bro, that's what I'm saying,
everything mainstream, I'm telling you, has pro wrestling influence, and
that's what I'm saying.
Kayfabe. That's crazy.
School, social media, YouTube.
Let's use 6ix9ine for example. Honestly,
Chat party.
But no, I feel like this guy low key, like the way he carries himself, he got it from the wrestling business. Because rap, right? It's not a TV show or anything, right? So nobody would suspect kayfabe. This dude, I don't know if you're familiar with this case, right? But he was arrested, right?
Right.
The whole time, people are like, oh, he snitched. He's working them. I know he's not a wrestler, but he's working the mainstream audience because he was never a real gang member.
Yeah, he was
Everybody thinks he was a real gangster. He was never a real gangster. He's portraying a gangster character, and that's where that comes in. He's blurring the lines, but the thing is, nobody's suspecting that it's fake. I'm telling you, he trolls on social media so much, man.
And he gets clout, man. He gets
so much clout.
He gets so much clout.
It's just crazy to me, and that's why I like him. Like, sometimes his music can get repetitive.
I'm gonna be real. Like, sometimes his music can slap so hard. Like,
I know, right?
And like when you're in that moment, you're just like, you know what I mean? But
yeah, his music can be dope, and that's the thing about it. Because even if his music, the times where it doesn't, like, some people just hate it, they're still watching him and they're still paying attention to him because he's playing a character.
Right.
Like 6ix9ine is not who he, like, when the camera's off, he's not acting like that.
Exactly.
But so many people think he is. And that's
what I'm saying, man.
That's part of pro wrestling, man.
It's the lost art, man.
That's the lost art. And it's because the fans, they want to dissect. And honestly, I do think pro wrestling will be huge again, but it's not going to be huge the way it was with kayfabe, and it can't be. But it's going to be huge again in terms of once people, I do think the mainstream audience is going to catch on to what us wrestling fans know, and that's the backstage politics.
Right.
That's all drama, dude.
For sure.
And if that happens, dude, I'm telling you, everybody's going to be watching pro wrestling because everybody's just going to care about what's going on backstage.
So I'm saying, man, that Montreal Screwjob stuff, like, I love that. You know what I mean? It's like, it just gets me right into it. But yeah.
Like, for example, if we hear that, let's use Johnny Gargano, for example. He comes to the main roster. Vince McMahon is holding him back, right? It's more entertaining to hear Johnny Gargano talk about Vince McMahon holding him back in real life than the storyline that's happening on TV.
Exactly, because it just makes the narrative and everything. So, like, you know, interesting, and it's just like one of those things where it's like you hear so many weird things about Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon. I know people know about this. It's like they were like into some shit. I'm just like, dude, that just makes me like look at HBK from a different whole perspective, and it's just like, you know, I didn't expect that, but you know, that's why they call him the Heartbreak Kid, right?
Yeah, man. It's just, Oh, that's when wrestling's gonna fucking blow up, bro. If
Yeah.
the mainstream audience ever realizes that pro wrestling is like don't get me wrong, WWE's mainstream, right? But they're not like Attitude or Ruthless Aggression.
Yeah.
I'm saying they could get to that level again if the mainstream audience finds out how much the fans know about what goes on backstage.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
They don't know that. Like, it's TMZ shit every day. Literally.
Honestly, you check 6IXNINE's Instagram and it's just like, all these, girls and racks of, money, and it's just like, dude, like.
And this is the same thing with like the YouTubers and their diss tracks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if we look back at like, I don't watch the Paul brothers that much, but since we brought them up earlier, my sister did, right? And Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they had beef a couple of years ago at some point. They're brothers, and these people are believing that they have beef. Dude, if they had beef, they wouldn't be making videos about it.
Exactly.
They're doing it to entertain you, and that's part of.
That's it, man. Clickbaits.
Even the MMA, I see a lot of people like MMA fighters. A lot of them are wrestling fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of their MMA fans, though, they'll be the first ones to bash pro wrestling. Oh, it's fake. They're all playing.
Yeah, they would shit on it.
And then I'm sorry, I don't care, and I got some heat on this for Snapchat once, but when Khabib fought Conor McGregor and Khabib dove over the octagon, I called that out right now. I'm like, they planned for that shit to happen.
Yeah, like it looked, dude. It was so controversial because here's another guy. Let's be honest. People watch most of the majority of the freaking fan base of UFC. Like, dude, it's from Conor. Like, 100%. Like,
and he's also playing a character, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you think he's genuinely that much of a douchebag going to a store, going to a restaurant? No, like, it's all publicity stuff.
It's all publicity.
It all comes from pro wrestling, man. It's kayfabe. It's playing a character,
and
it's not a bad thing.
Exactly, and he does the Vince McMahon power walks.
Oh my god, I cringed so much because when he fought Donald Cerrone, because I do watch him from time to time. It is fun to watch. But when he fought Donald Cerrone,
they showed Vince in that promo.
Yeah, and
dude,
like,
I was popping for.
And they played McGregor's voice. He's like, "Oh, I made this walk," and they're showing a clip of Vince from 2007. I'm like, you weren't even fighting in 2007. What are you talking about? You made this walk. God. Man.
Lost start, man. So, what'd you think? First episode?
I think we did a good one. You guys remember, if you want to see our faces on YouTube, the VP Show, no spaces, will be on Podbean very soon and SoundCloud. So stay tuned for that. You can download our podcasts. Hopefully it's gonna be like a weekly thing.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out soon. I don't know.
Yeah, probably by the next episode we'll have a schedule.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for chatting, man.
Yeah, no problem.